To laugh though whenever you say, "Can you
Mm-hmm.
hear us?" Because we start off the lives the same way every
There
time.
we go. I think we got it. I think we got it. Okay, I think you might have cut off your
That's yours,
that's is that
babe.
me?
Yes.
See, look, I gotta cut my stuff down. Okay, mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2.
Mic check 3 4
Mic check 1 2.
5 6 7 8.
Okay, I think we good. I think we good. Listen, hold on.
I'm
Let me.
not in the picture though. Tonight.
You ain't in the
I
picture?
feel like I need to scoot a
You
certain
gotta.
way.
You may have to scoot this way. Let's scoot this way some more. You ready? Let's do a left.
Okay.
1 2.
No, that's good. That's good. That's good.
That's good.
That's
Okay.
good.
Okay. Hey, anybody out there? Can you hear us? I know we are late to our own broadcast, our own live. Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Let us know.
Like the people that throw the party, and then you got people waiting at the house.
Yeah, waiting at the house before you even
had
get
to go
there.
grab the ice and the chips.
Right. Let us know in the chat if y'all can hear us. Let us know.
Hello,
Okay,
everybody.
I believe that they can hear us. I believe they can.
I want to say it feels like we're being heard.
Yeah. Because I mean, I don't think I have any problems on my end. I think we're good to go. Okay. All right, y'all. Listen, it has been a long time.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it has been forever, like since like midsummer, since we've been on a live together.
I know.
It has been forever. Like, I think there's been a lot of people. The reason why I really feel like we need to introduce you as my wife is because there's been like over 200, maybe 300 people who've joined the channel and subscribed to the channel since we last saw you.
Okay. Which camera do I look at? I always get confused.
Look at the middle right there. Look at the middle right there.
The whole time I'm looking at the wrong camera. Good evening, everybody. I am Nikki. I am Jermaine's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Another part of that Christian fam, and I'm so excited to be here on the live tonight. It has been busy with the school year starting up. Most of you know I'm in education, and so it's been a busy start to the school year. Education in a pandemic is a whole different field, but God is good. I'm excited to be here tonight on the live.
All right. Awesome.
We're gonna start off by talking about our playlist.
Look, man. Well, listen, I wasn't going to talk about it, but actually, you know what? It's a good thing you reminded me because I actually was going to talk about that. I guess what I meant to say is I really didn't have anything in mind. What have you been playing all this week?
Well, it's your fault because you're the one that kind of reintroduced me to it. I brought it back to my remembrance.
Did I?
But an oldie. I think it was like 2003 maybe. I don't know. But The Truth, Open Book.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you played it the other night, and I was like, you know what? I used to love that song. So yes, I'm about to ask my hubby to adjust my camera. Can you adjust my camera? Look, I'm gonna be one of those people. Like,
you want it? Like that?
Can you take it up? Can you angle it up? I'll be, like one of those stars. I'll be like,
okay.
And at a tilted angle.
I can't do all that.
We can't do all that.
No.
Okay.
This is as good as it gets, babe.
Okay. Well, I guess that's better. We can see our Christmas wrapping in the back, but I can change that. That's okay. Y'all like, why they have wrapping paper out? Yeah, this is just a storage, and we're gonna move that so it's out the view. Thank you.
Yeah. So okay, I think we got it all together now.
Okay.
Awesome, y'all. Awesome. All right. Well,
it just reminded me of the professionals that used to be like right there in the middle of the concert. Like, I need the amp turned down. I need it up.
I need the monitor.
Right. Like, adjust the sound. We got to have it right, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
All right, y'all. Well, listen, without further ado, we're going to talk about this topic that is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of near and dear to my heart. I don't know why, because I'm married 17 years, but it just seems like there's just been, for some reason, over the past like 6 months
honey,
or so.
I'm noticing that it's not on you for some reason, the camera.
Okay,
Where is it?
Let me get it off. There we go.
Okay.
We good? Okay, it's not on me.
No.
Okay, there.
There we go.
There we go. All right, listen.
We're gonna get ourselves together.
I promise y'all, and I'm actually about to drop a link in the chat I'll do that. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna wait on that because I don't want anybody to try to join in before. You know what? I'll go ahead and drop it. Just in case you want to, this is one of those shows where we want people to actually jump in and actually add to the conversation, or if they have any questions or concerns or anything like that. No ugliness, no challenges. Don't come for us because we ain't coming for y'all. All right, y'all. So, but
you should play that whole. Did he just say what he said?
Did he say? Yeah. Whatever it is, I don't. So that's what let's say. I don't know.
You don't remember? That's okay.
I cannot remember what it is. But anyways, at this point, you know what I can play.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, ain't nobody got time for that. But no, I think seriously, this topic is 7 things keeping you single.
Okay.
7 things keeping you single. And for some reason, it seems like, for one, there's a lot of people that are not taking it serious, I believe, when it comes to marriage, who are not, who are just like taking their time when it comes to marriage. And then there are a lot of people out there who desire to be married, but there's things that are keeping them in that situation of single. You know what I'm saying? And so this conversation is not for those people who claim to have the gift of singleness or who are content in being single. This conversation is for the people who desire to be married, but they're not married. And so we're going to discuss, 7. Now, listen, this ain't the Bible, but these are 7 ways or 7 reasons or 7 things that actually are keeping you single. But when you hear the word single, what is single to you?
I mean, I'm just taking it to the basic definition. In my mind, I think they're just someone who is not married. I mean, sometimes people can, if they're in a committed relationship, they may say that they're not available, which is true.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess technically, if you're looking at it, if you're not married, you're still considered in the single bracket, even when it comes to taxes and all of that.
When it comes to taxes, right.
And so that's what comes to my mind. If you're not married, now you can be, like I said, if you're in a relationship with someone, like a committed courtship or relationship, you may say, okay, I'm not available, but technically you're still not married. So
you're single.
So you're,
yeah, clear cut and dry. That's exactly what we only measure. Listen, we only go by weddings and marriages over here. All right. That's the end goal, is marriage. Now, we're not saying that marriage completes people. However, that's what we count as being married or not single, however you want to call it. If you're not married, you're single.
Yeah.
And so that's our definition. That's how we counting over here. That's how we count. And so one of the things I want to discuss is, I guess, what is the number one, or one of the first thing I want to discuss, y'all can see we're kind of rusty. But the first thing I want to discuss is over spiritualizing things. What comes to your mind when we talk about over spiritualizing the process?
Well, before we hop into that, I just want to kind of put a little thought out there, because you said 7 things keeping you single. I want it to be clear that we're not coming off like it's somebody's fault per se that they're single.
Yeah, or you have some type of disease.
Yeah, like it's something wrong, because that's not the case.
Right.
It could be 7 things to consider that could possibly 7 reasons that could possibly still have you in the single status or something like that. But of course, we know that it's a very nuanced conversation. So it's not just like boom, 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 and this is why. No, because that's not where we're trying to come from at all. It's just some things to consider, some mindsets to consider and think about, that could help us transition into, marriage for those who are single and decide that they or have a desire to be married.
Right.
So just to put that out there.
Okay.
So when you say over spiritualizing, I know you asked me what comes to my mind, but what comes to your mind?
So you're just going to throw it back to me? You're going to throw it back to me?
Yeah.
Well, what I think is over spiritualizing it is when, like, we just expect God to just drop somebody in our lap.
You're so funny.
What?
Because
is that what you're gonna say?
It's like you're in
well, you know,
my
I gave you the
notes.
chance to say it, so there you go.
I know.
But we expect God to just like, oh well, you know, like, oh, like
Oh my
you're
goodness.
the one, like this halo over the head, and like, oh well, this has gotta be the one. You know, I don't totally believe in the one anyway. I think a lot of stuff. I think a lot of times we have made stuff fairy tale, and we have like fairy tales, and we have bought into the Disney stuff, and like it just has to be, you know, this, you know, God has to like, you know, knock me in the head.
I was special though, so
I know you were special.
I need us to.
We're not talking about Nikki G.
I know, but when you're saying the one, you know, me and you have had conversations around
definitely,
because I still do feel very strongly that God, if you seek God for your spouse or who it is that He would have you to be with in order to help you to reach your purpose and to uplift Him and to glorify Him, because He knows, you know, even like the designing of your children and all of that, you know, according to His will, I do feel. And there was something that set me apart, sir. Don't play.
I mean,
don't play.
Listen, I can get with you on that. I can definitely get with you on that. I guess we make stuff spooky. If, you know, for lack of better terms, like it just has to be so special to where, like, you know, it's almost like the person that was drowning, and you know, they were, you know, like, okay,
asking God, please send me some help.
Please send me some help. Yeah,
he sent a rowboat first, and then the person was like, no, I'm waiting on God. Then He sent a helicopter. I remember those two things. There's all kinds of things that God sent, but the person kept on saying, no, I'm waiting on God. But God, you know, sent. So yeah. I had down when I was reflecting on this that your spouse will not fall out of the clouds, and there will not be a bright light shining behind them with choir music playing. So that's all I was like, for real. Like exactly. What you said, we were around the same, along the same lines. I also put on there, don't be so heavenly minded that you know earthly good, thinking that it's gonna like literally be an angelic form of a person, like. While you do still have to have certain values in place and certain criteria, you know, because you don't want to compromise your faith, you don't want to compromise your values, right? You still have to remember that your spouse is not going to be perfect.
Right.
After all, you're not perfect, you know? So it's like, how can we expect for God to place us with someone who's perfect when we're imperfect ourselves? And I think sometimes we do, you know, and like I said, I'm not saying that you don't have to have some kind of values in place or expectations, I'll say, but just let's make sure that our expectations are reasonable. You know, of course, for me personally, you already know one of my top things on my list was you had to be saved. You had to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ for yourself. Because for me as a woman, it's like, how are you going to lead me if you're not connected to the main leader?
Yeah. And who's supposed to be guiding you?
Exactly.
Yeah, who's guiding you?
So if you don't have that connection with God and that's our spiritual navigation system, then there's no way that I would feel comfortable with following you, you know, because it's like, do you know where you're going?
Right.
If you're not saved, to me, it's like, okay, do you have a clear path of your purpose? And who are you getting your directions from? Are you just wandering around aimlessly? So things like that. But if it's like something like, okay, I wanted my husband to have the favorite color of blue. Yeah. And then I talk to you and, oh my goodness, your favorite color is green.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do that. Or, you know, some people are very materialistic. I'm gonna put it out there. Very wrong. That's my opinion. But some people are like, oh, they have to, and we've kind of touched on this before. Oh, they have to make this certain amount in salary. They have to drive this certain type of car. They have to wear this certain brand of clothes. All those things to me are just very materialistic and temporal and can change in a heartbeat. So you can meet somebody that could be 6 figures, looking nice, all that, doing well one day. When you get into the relationship, and then they could lose their job out of nowhere.
I mean, that's a good point.
And so That's what that or over spiritualizing, like just really keeping things in a proper perspective.
Yeah, taking everything as a sign. How about that? Like, for instance, your favorite color was blue, and then you found out my favorite color was blue, and then you're like, oh, it must be a sign from the Lord, and it ain't no sign from the Lord. You see what I'm saying? And I guess one of the things that concerns me is I think that a lot of people just don't put themselves out there. Like, you sit up in the house all day, but you expecting God to just have a dude just bust down your or female bust down your door. If you're a dude, ain't no female finna come knocking at your door all the time. Like, hey, I'm here. I'm your wife. Like, you really have to put yourself out there.
Unless it's the Amazon delivery person.
You know what? Ain't nobody worried about the and actually, it's probably some freaks out there looking at the Amazon person.
Really, Jermaine? Okay.
I'm gonna just call it like I see it. But anyways, so we're checking out the Amazon person. You're supposed to be opening your box. You're trying to open something else. But anyways,
let's clarify on put yourself out there. I think we need to talk about that a little bit more because some people may interpret that in different ways.
What I'm saying is, don't be locked up in the house all the time. Now, I understand that we're in a pandemic. I get all that. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even before the pandemic, you wasn't going outside no ways. But for instance, go outside, go take a nice walk in the park or something by yourself. Don't be with 1,000 people to where someone's intimidated by approaching you.
That could be a safety issue.
Well, yeah, but broad daylight, you know what I'm saying? Like, put yourself out there.
Have one friend.
Do something to where you go to right. Do something to where like you go to a restaurant, eat by yourself. Don't be buried in your cell phone while you're in the restaurant. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that to where you're just eating. You know what I'm saying? You present yourself to be alone.
Look around.
You're alone.
Hey, over here.
Yeah,
hey.
I mean, yeah. Don't be. You ain't got to do all that. But just those are some of the things. Yeah. Those are just some of the things that you can do to kind of, like I said, put yourself out there. Stop over spiritualizing things. And I believe that's one of the things that could be keeping some of y'all out there single. I'll say y'all because we married.
Or authentically. And I'm not saying to get involved in different ministries for the purpose of finding someone. Mm-hmm. But if you do get involved in different ministries at your church, mm-hmm. then, and you're automatically spending time with other believers, mm-hmm. for those of, us who are saved, then that could lend itself to developing maybe a further, a good solid friendship that develops into a relationship, but I want to clarify, please do not go to church just to find a mate. Cause some people do that. They like, I'm going to church to find me I guess a wife or, so I can be found if it's a woman. So no, still have a pure heart, pure intentions, allow God to order your steps and direct your paths, and he can do it. You've heard, for some of you who have heard Jermaine and my story, mm-hmm. about how we're from two different states, met as teenagers, had a long distance relationship as teenagers,
but we met each other in ministry doing
ministry. Yeah,
I'm saying, and it can still happen like that today. You can still meet your spouse doing ministry. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, and that could be part of the courting process, because you can get a lot of those things, a lot of those questions that you have, those things can be answered, when you're actually doing ministry with somebody.
And naturally answered. Because it's like you're spending time around them to just be able to see it for yourself, because y'all may end up going out to eat together as a group or something like that.
You get to see somebody's character. Mm-hmm. You get to see somebody's character and stuff like that. So y'all do me a quick favor. Somebody drop a comment in the chat real quick. So because I want to make sure that I'm not missing comments or anything. And I want to make sure these comments are working. Can y'all do me a quick favor and just drop something in the chat? Say hello, what's up? Or what where you watching from? What city you watching from? Or something like that. Let us know. And I would greatly appreciate that. And don't forget about
the wrong camera, Jermaine.
So what?
I keep looking at the wrong camera.
Okay, yeah. Right there.
Look here.
Now we're there. Yeah. And don't forget also too, we got the super chat, you can always hit that $sign at the bottom or whatever, just to support the ministry. All right, the second thing we want to talk about is appearance. Now, when we talk about appearance, that could be a lot of different things. When we speak of that, what are some of the things you think of?
Okay, I'm gonna touch a probably a touchy subject, but something that's been happening a lot. I don't know, like recent year, maybe it's been more, but I've just noticed it more maybe recently, is are females walking around with bonnets and night clothes on and flip-flops. And I'm not talking about walking out to the mailbox and check the mail or get the newspaper. I'm talking about you're in a store or you're in a restaurant and you look like you literally just hopped up out the bed, ran to the car. Or, and I'm not just going to leave it at females. I want to come back to that because I am a female, so it does make me feel a certain kind of way.
Oh my God.
But for males, sagging, showing everybody your underwear, wearing t-shirts,
oh my gosh.
Just not representing yourself well. And when you think about older people, when we were growing up, and I know we're still younger, I guess we're probably heading towards middle, but anyways, I just remember people talking about, dress to impress, and people are going to respond to you in the way that you present yourself.
Yeah.
Not just your character, because character, of course, is important.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And we know that God talks about not focusing on the outward appearance, but looking at, the heart of a man. We get that. The reality, and I'm not going against the word of God, it's also important, though, that we present ourselves in a classy way.
Yeah.
Because the first thing that people see with their eye is your outer, like the physical appearance. Now, when it's talking about not judging the outer appearance, that's more like don't judge a person and, don't think that this person is, it's another context. But we do have to be mindful if we're talking about singleness, and we're talking about if you're pursuing to be married and desiring to be married, we have to make sure that we're presenting ourselves accordingly. You can't just go out looking any old kind of way. You need to have yourself presented well. You often will talk about, and you said in some of the videos, how, men are visual.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you have to have all your body parts exposed, because there still should be some wrapping paper on there for it to be unwrapped on the marriage night.
No sense.
Exactly.
Did you play that?
Makes no sense revealing all of that stuff. Nobody got time for that.
So you still need to have some wrapping paper on the present, so that on the wedding night, or when you get married, there is something to unwrap. But as far as going out, because even our daughter, who is 7, has made observations.
Man, you all in my
with
stuff.
her eyes about, well, why are they walking through the store with a hair bonnet,
with bonnets on,
and pajamas and flip-flops, Mom? And I'm like, honey, as for us,
oh my gosh,
we're not going to do that. When you go out in public, you're going to look like you're in public. You're going to present yourself well. And that's something that I think maybe is lacking with this generation. I don't know. Maybe are there people actually, bringing that to young ladies' attention, and maybe older ladies alike, because I don't know if it's just limited to the young ones.
Let me tell you something. All right. I'm going to tell you something real quick. All right. I'm going to just tell you something. Our daughter, we were in the store and she was like, Daddy, this irritates me. I said, what? I thought she was irritated because she couldn't get something she wanted to get. No, she was irritated because she kept seeing all these grown women with bonnets on their head.
And she's irritated.
At 7. Got pajamas, flip-flops. I'm going to just tell you like this. Bonnets are for the crib.
It's for home.
They're for the home. Like our 5-year-old son, he's like, bonnets. I'm like, I'm like, be quiet. Be quiet. Don't. Now listen, because you about to open a can of worms your daddy going to have to try to close. But he was pointing at like bonnets there. Look, they don't like it. And I didn't teach them that. They just like, why is that happening outside? Why is this? Bonnets are for the crib. I remember growing up, my mom and them, like they would have the rollers in their head, right?
And
you know what? They wouldn't be caught dead outside with
I'm
them rollers in their
you,
head.
it's like you were really in my head, because I was just thinking, I remember there were a couple times growing up where, you know, like you have to get your hair done and you're in the salon, and maybe the beautician had to kind of pause for something, or you had to run and go get something. And I had curlers in my head and I hate it. Like I felt so awkward. Like I don't want to be walking around with curlers in my head, like the rollers. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just a certain feeling that I had. And it's just like, what happened to that feeling of, you know, there's a way for me to carry and present myself outside of the house, and there's a way for me to be comfortable inside the house. Or for the example I use, like if I'm getting my hair done at the salon, it's a difference. But I'm just trying to figure out, when did we become so comfortable with walking around outside? And you know how I am. I'm big on house clothes, pajama clothes, all that. You know, it's like I wouldn't even want my pajamas on the outside, because I'm like, you know how I'm like street clothes. You
got street clothes, house clothes. She's all into that. Street clothes, house clothes.
And that was before the pandemic. I'm before like, the pandemic. but yeah, I'm just wondering what happened to where that became acceptable. And then it's like, oh, you can't say anything, like we talked about before. Remember, I think we've given this example on here before, how we heard the story about a pastor who tried to I'm gonna say mentor. I know he didn't know the dude. He just ran into him in the store. Remember the young guy who had his pants sagging, and he was trying to, you know, help him, like, young man, pull your pants up. You're a young man. You don't need to sag. And the young man cussed him out, and then proceeded to go tell his mom, who came back and tag team. Like, okay, I'm gonna cuss you out on top of my son cussing you out. Exactly. For you addressing him. Yeah. But you know, in the old school days, you could have that village approach to where if it's an elder and you know that they meant well, you know, as long as they meant well and had good intent, to say something in order to try to help build up strong men who carried themselves well, or strong women, even the old mothers of the church, who tried to pour into the women to make sure that they're training them up, you know, helping with that training. Yeah. But nowadays it just seems like, don't say nothing to me, it's a problem. Like, I'm doing me and you better not have anything to say about it. But there has to be a standard. Yeah. There has to be a standard. People will respond to you and address you and approach you in a way that you present yourself. Yeah. So that, I know I went on and on, but
no, you good. You good. You good. Bonnets are for the crib. They are. And like, listen, I don't understand that. Like, ain't no dude checking for that. Like, if, for instance, you saw some dude that could potentially be your husband, he's not attracted to that. All right, he's not. I mean, I'm sorry. I know that we, you know, I you know, and I'm actually talking to Sean from Track Stars, and he was saying the same thing. He was like, you know what 2020 revealed is that don't nobody want nobody to say nothing to them about anything. They just want to live any way they want to live. And how dare you check them? How dare you question them? How dare you challenge them at all? Like, and honestly,
that makes no sense.
It don't. Yeah. It makes no sense. And like, this is that whole only God can judge me thing, where like, you want to hide behind only God can judge me because you want no one else to make any type of assessment of you, when people assess all the time. But listen, you want to know why you're single? That may be one of the main reasons why you actually are single. And just
for men who are sagging, young men who are sagging, there's a history to that, you know? And so I just encourage people to go out and research why they're sagging. I've heard a couple different historical views on that. You know, one, when they're in prison, basically letting someone know that you're available to be violated. Yeah. And then two, in the slavery days, you know, they would have their pants down at a certain level so they couldn't run off and escape.
Yeah, exactly. And what's up, y'all? Ebby Ware, Kristen, how you doing? Cameron, what's up, y'all? Good to see y'all.
Hopefully I'm looking at the right camera.
Yeah, you are. You're looking at the right camera. But yeah, exactly. There's a history to that. So, that's their appearance with that, how you dress, how you present yourself.
In a favorable way. That's
in
what
a favorable way. Exactly. So, you wondering why, hey, nobody's checking for me. Are you presenting yourself to where somebody will be like, you know what? That's very attractive. And that'll mean you have to show everything.
Like I
But there's a
said.
way, like you said, that you can dress in a way that's kind of classy. Also, making sure that your health, that's a big part of someone feeling, attracted to you. Because, of course, nobody's saying that we all need to be perfect out here. Nobody's saying that. But you know what's attractive to you. You know what's attractive to most people. So do your best, man, that noise. Do your best to make yourself appealing. Are we on the? Yeah, do your best to make sure that you're appealing and appeasing to the person of the opposite sex. So, we already went over spiritualizing things.
And feeling good and confident in yourself, too.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a certain way you feel. I just remember even when they're training
without
people,
being conceited.
Yeah. Even when they're training people to go out and get jobs, they always say you want to dress to impress, and the way that you dress is going to be the way that you conduct yourself throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say the same, even in relationships, feel good and confident in yourself, because like we've talked about in some of our other videos, not expecting the person that you are with to complete you. You're already coming whole. We know God is the one that completes, and you have to feel confident and know your value and worth, and say, you know what, I am beautiful. I am wonderful, fearfully and wonderfully made. And I'm going to carry myself as such.
Amen. So we talked about over spiritualizing, not to over spiritualize. That's one of the things that may be keeping you single. Another thing is your appearance, health, weight, all of those things. Those things may be keeping you single as well. And another thing that may be number 3, the third thing that may be keeping you single is your career.
And that's something, because, we looked at, tried to start the Ayala episode. I ended up falling asleep. That's okay. We're going to finish it. But what drew us to it is it was talking about women who were so career driven that they put off their own personal lives. And now they're wondering, okay, well, why is it that I cannot get into a successful relationship? And I have a career as well, so I don't want to make it seem like you can't have a career and a relationship. I don't think it has to be either or.
Putting it over.
But when you prioritize the career over your personal life, that's when it can become problematic. We talked about people who have put their personal lives on the back burner because they're just trying to climb the corporate ladder, which takes a lot of time, which, you have to get a certain schooling for a lot of the positions. So, the time that you put into that, and by time you're done with your day, it's like you're wiped out. You don't have time for anything else for yourself, or, because like I said, you can be in a relationship and have a career. Case in point, like I graduated with my undergrad, then got married that same year after I got my bachelor's.
Praise
and then
God.
I was,
who you get married to?
This handsome man sitting across from me.
Who that is?
But yes, got my master's while still being married, pursued some other things in my career while still being married. It's possible, but you have to make sure that you maintain a balance. I have heard some testimonies of some people who are, in their 40s, and people can still get married. They can still have children in their 40s, but I've heard some people talk about how they kind of wish that maybe, or they thought that things would have kind of played out differently in their lives, to where they would have been married sooner, or maybe had children sooner, even though it's still possible. So if you are 40 or over, I mean, we're still seeing people still getting blessed, meeting their spouses, still having children even then. So please do not be dismayed or give up hope, like, oh goodness, it's not going to happen for me, because it still can. But just hearing certain people talking about how they envisioned it rolling out differently. And happening sooner. So
even one of the things that you may not even realize, but or you may realize, and that's probably why you may not even be courting anybody or in a relationship with anybody, is because they saw when they were in a relationship with you how much you put your career or
before.
even your job. You don't even have to have a career necessarily, but even your job, you put that before them. And honestly, nobody wants to go into a covenant relationship with somebody who prioritizes things like that before them, because they're like, okay, like where am I going to fit in? Are you going to pin me in, or are you going to pencil me in?
Yeah.
There's a difference between being pinned in and penciled in, because when you pencil in somebody, you can easily just erase them.
Yeah.
But when you pin that mug in, unless you come with some white out, that mug is there to stay. That's why we never practice writing in pen. We hate writing. Anyways,
really?
So we hated writing in pen. But my whole point is, if you don't make space in your life for them before marriage, they're not going to be eager to, jump the broom and get married to you, because they see where your priorities lie.
That's why it keeps coming back to those priorities.
Yeah.
You know, and something else that I think is important to kind of pause on and reflect upon is, making sure that your career isn't becoming like a little God to you, to where you're putting that before, we've heard our pastor talk about that before even church or God himself, because it's like, I got to do this, I got to do that. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for personal devotion. I don't have time for Bible study. I don't have time for Sunday worship, because it's this, and that. And so anytime that's the case, and if also assessing to see, is this really complementing my purpose? It's a blessing when you can serve in a career that goes hand in hand with your purpose. Like, I have a heart and a passion for educating others.
Right.
And so when your career can line up with what that purpose is, it's a true blessing. But if it's something that is not in alignment to where God has put you here, or not going to be a vessel or there's another word I'm seeking for, but I can't find it, a means of getting you to that purpose, then that may be something that you want to reassess as well. So that's when it can become a problem, just when you're putting it up there on a pedestal, and like you said, you don't have time for friends, you don't have time for a relationship, because relationships take time. You have to spend quality time together on a regular basis, because when you get out of touch with each other, then that relationship can start to drift apart. So you have to make sure that your spouse, or even when you start courting, the person who you're in a relationship feels valued,
right?
And it has to be a priority. So and that's what we talked about. I mean, what we heard on a little bit of piece that I saw on Ayanla before I fell asleep.
Before you fell asleep.
Them just talking about some of the regrets. Because here's the thing, your career, as wonderful as it may be, a job will come and go. A career you're going to eventually retire from.
Yeah. Or quit.
Yeah. Or you can even have it to where you invest so much time and effort, and what keeps the company or the organization from saying, you know what?
Yeah.
We don't need you.
Yeah. Or we don't need you. Or that could have been the little window you had to build a life with that person. And now that window's closed because you put your career, your job, and everything else before them. And we didn't watch the Ayanla episode or whatever, but one of the things that was interesting about their occupations or what they do is they all considered themselves, or they ran themselves like bosses.
Yeah, I did see that part.
Like bosses. And so sometimes, and that's going to actually go into our next thing, sometimes the way that we portray ourselves, and this is specifically for the women, it's a little bit too much, and it's not because people can. Anyways, let's get into our point number 4. How about that?
Yeah, that does
point number 4. And again, we're not just talking about women with this stuff, but we're going to talk about men with this stuff as well, because there's a lot of men that actually do the same thing with their career, where they're a high-powered attorney, high-powered lawyer, whatever, high-powered doctor, you know what I'm saying? Or even, they just got so many different hustles, you know what I'm saying? So many different hustles to where they're like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to prioritize all this. And then that's why you ain't got no woman. That's why you ain't got no wife. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so the 4th point, let's talk about this. Attitude, how we behave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Attitude. Let's talk about it.
Your attitude
yeah.
affects your altitude. I mean, that's just in life.
Listen.
No, I'm serious. Just in life, like how you go about interacting with others, your perspective on things, your interactions, all that plays a part in how you move about in this life.
Yeah.
And so you want to be around people who are adding salt and flavor to your life.
Yeah.
You know, being a light.
Mm-hmm.
If it's someone who's always negative and, you know, Debbie Downer, and what's the negative Ned? Is a negative Ned?
Negative Nathan or whatever.
Nathan or whoever.
Negative Nancy, negative Nathan or whatever.
Yeah.
There's another N word I can think of too. But
no one wants to be around that. So
yeah.
And I'm not just talking about having bouts of like if you battle with depression or something like that. I'm not talking about that because that's a whole different situation. But someone who always sees the glass half empty. Instead of half full, someone who never sees any potential, because when you're with someone, you want to be with someone who can help you to reach your fullest potential and the purpose that, you know, like that you can travel with through life.
Yeah.
And fulfill the purpose that God has placed in you individually and as a couple. So you have to really be mindful of who you're, you know, ended up with. So, you know, how you were talking about the boss women. So it's okay to be in a leadership position as a woman. You
it's
know,
perfectly fine.
But the thing is, we have to keep in mind that in a marriage, God has given a certain order. He does things decently in order. That doesn't mean that a woman is less than a man. He didn't devalue the woman and say, "Oh, well, you're less than." But they're still always in order.
Yeah, don't go home. Don't come home because you have that, you know, leadership position and castrate your husband.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, you have to know how to turn it off, because when you're at home, while you can jointly lead, I mean, you know, it's like you can make decisions together because you respect one another.
Yeah.
You still have to know how to respect the husband, just as the husband has to know how to love his wife, right? As Christ has loved the church. But there is a biblical order. I know some people want to always throw that out there and say, "Oh, well, that's old fashion and this and that, and that's before this and this and that." But no, God is a God of order, and he doesn't change his mind. What he says is what he says.
What he says is what he says.
And so if you're running things at work, you have to know how to come home and not feel like you can talk to your spouse in a way that makes them, like you said, feel emasculated or castrated.
Yeah, exactly. Emasculated. So like with that attitude, it's really big. And I want to say that because my experience, and we want to talk about this. I really want to talk about it. Haven't talked about it on this channel yet. Haven't talked about it on this channel yet. I looked at the wrong camera. I did one of yours. I haven't talked about it on this channel yet, but it really very much frustrated me. I was in Walmart, right?
Yeah.
During the summertime. And like I was going to go check out at Walmart, and I didn't want to go through the U-scan or whatever. I just wanted to, you know, have somebody ring up my groceries, this, that, and the other. Well, there was this casually dressed Caucasian white man in front of me. He looked like he was dressed for the beach or something. And you know how you ask for those dividers, you know, for your groceries or whatever. He asked the woman for a divider so he could divide up his groceries, whatever, from the person before them or whatever. And she kindly handed it to the gentleman with a smile and said, "Here you go, sir." With a smile, right? With a smile.
Yeah.
And then so I'm like, okay, well, you know, I should get that same treatment when it's my turn. And so when I asked the woman for the divider, you know what she did? She threw the mess on my food. She threw the mess on my food.
I wasn't even there, but when
she
you
didn't
told me
say
about it, I was like, "Oh my goodness."
Yeah, she didn't say a word to me. She didn't even look at me. The heifer threw
Really?
the divider on my food.
It was rude.
So-
I mean, I was upset when he came home and told me about it because I wasn't there. I'm just like, did you tell a manager? Was a manager there? He was like, no, I left, you know, because that is upsetting.
It's very upsetting.
It's very upsetting, like to treat somebody and right in front, like to where you could see the different treatment.
I saw the difference.
Because it would be one thing. It wouldn't be right. But it would be one thing if you saw her treat everybody like, okay, that's just her attitude. She just has, you know, like what, you know what I mean? And it wouldn't excuse it, but you could at least process it a little differently.
Be like, okay, this is how she do everybody.
Yeah.
No.
But when you see the difference in treatment,
the Caucasian man,
and you're spending money,
and then the black man,
just the same.
Yeah.
And
we
you're
can't leave this out. She was a black woman.
And both dollars are green. And we don't want to get into that because I think that's a whole different conversation.
But we don't want to make it seem like it was some blatant racism. No, this wasn't. No, this was another black woman treating the black man differently than she treated the white man. And I was dressed because I had just came from work and I was dressed really nice. I was dressed, you know, nice, business casual, all that stuff. He was looking like he about to go up somebody dive off a diving board or go surfing. That's why he was dressed with flip-flops. And I had on my work shoes, my nice dress shoes and all this other stuff. I'm like, what is this dissension between African-American women and African-American men?
That's a whole nother lie.
That's a whole nother lie. We get it, but like the attitude is horrible.
Yeah.
Why? And I know, and here's the thing. I know you have it in you to be nice. You know why? Because I just saw you do it with somebody else.
You saw it. Yeah. So you're capable.
Yeah. But when it came to me, it was like, and I hadn't done anything to the woman. But when it came to me, this is what you think of me. So the whole attitude thing. Another thing I want to talk about with attitude is this. I want to bring up the thing that happened at our church years ago or whatever, where I was teaching a group of men, a group of young boys. And this is and this gives me no joy in saying this. I was teaching a group of actually teenagers. It wasn't just boys. It was, you know, black boys and black girls as well. And the teenage boys said, I don't date. I don't like black girls. I don't like black. I don't want to like black girls. And I said, well, wait a minute. Why you don't like them? And it wasn't just one. It started with one. And it was like, well, because they mean. Well, like what? Okay, so I was like, wait a minute. I was like, hold on. And I tried to stir them in another direction. Like, hold up. It can't be everybody. It was like, well, the ones at our school, they're mean. They act like us, and they wear muffin tops. And what I understand what they talk about with the muffin tops now is the bonnets.
Oh, did you see the look on my face? Yeah. I'm like, muffin tops.
Yes, they call them muffin tops. They said they call them muffin tops or mushroom tops or something like that. Muffin tops and mushroom tops. I know
you saw that all over my face. I was following them like, and then he said muffin top. I'm like,
mushroom top. I think it's mushroom top. And then they wore mushroom tops where the bonnets. So they said, we don't like them. He said, I don't like them because they're mean, they act like men, and they wear the mushroom tops.
And we've heard about that, you know, like with some of our younger ladies, you know, we've heard about a high school to where, you know, they had the young ladies fighting just like they were dudes, like they were guys.
Like they were dudes.
And so that is a problem. We still have to have femininity.
Yes, femininity. And we're bringing up high schoolers, but y'all, this bleeds into adulthood
because you're high school.
We see the same thing happen in adulthood.
Yeah,
they don't just stop when they turn 18 or they turn 21. Or they bring that mess right into adulthood.
Yeah.
What is this to where we act so demonstrative like men, like the women? Why? And so they said, well, no, we don't want to date, you know, people in our own ethnicity. We want to date. You know, they actually said they want to date the Hispanic girls. And they said, why? Said, because they're nicer. And it wasn't just him. It was like the most of the group. And I don't want to say that this guy was nerdy, but even the one dude that looked like Urkelish, Steve Urkelish, even he said, yeah, they're mean. They're
Why
mean.
do you have to say it
I'm
like
sorry,
that?
yeah, they're mean. Yeah, it's like, yeah, they're just mean. I don't want them. Now
Oh
he
my goodness.
he looking like anybody could be mean to him, but no,
You know
even
what?
him, y'all, I need help. But even him,
Pray for
he
him.
was like, you know what? Yeah, they're mean.
Well,
So
attitude makes a difference. I
attitude
mean,
makes a
I would
difference.
say on both ends. You know, you
Yeah.
want a man that has a positive attitude who you see is going to respect you
Mhm.
as a person and not just what you have to offer. You know, like I said, not just trying to unwrap the wrapping paper and get to the gift,
Right.
but actually valuing you
Mhm.
as who God made you to be, that image of God, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it kind of gets back to that Imago Dei, you know, if we cherish the God in each other
Yeah. The
and
Imago Dei, like you said.
the image of God and who we have been created to be in Him, then we are going to treat each other a different way,
Mhm.
you know, with love, you know.
Right.
John 13:35, for believers especially, it talks about how by this shall all men know that you are my disciples if you have love one to
One
another.
to another.
And so we have to look at each other like, okay, that is God's child. That is one of God's children.
Yeah.
You know, and then even I have some scriptures that talk about like Romans 12:16, live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate people of low position. No, I'm not saying, you know, it's like that. But what I'm saying is the proud part, you know, not thinking that you're better than, you know what,
Yeah.
goof troop. No, but not thinking that you're better than, no, because this is real talk. Think about it. Now
Yeah.
you kind of chuckle, and I did too. But it talks about not being conceited. Do you remember? And I know this is a movie, but Daddy's Little Girls
Mhm.
by
Yeah.
Tyler Perry.
I remember.
And you remember Gabrielle Union was a lawyer.
Yeah.
And she met a nice guy, good father to his children,
Mhm.
hardworking, who was a mechanic.
Yeah.
And so her friends were like, actually, he was a driver at that time, wasn't he? Was he a
Yeah.
mechanic and a driver?
Yeah, he was a mechanic and a driver.
But I know that when the friends saw him, he was actually driving her.
Yeah.
Remember?
Chauffeur, yeah.
A chauffeur. And so it was almost like, you're better than this. You know, how are you going to be with someone in that class? You know, you're not with another lawyer or a doctor or, you know, someone. These are just positions.
That's all they are.
And like I said before, positions can change because they can also flip. I'm going to go to another Tyler Perry movie.
She good on that Tyler Perry.
A Family That Prays. Where you had, remember that gentleman who was coming into the restaurant homeless?
Oh, the homeless looking guy? Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, you found out that he had
was a
stocks.
millionaire,
Millionaire, very wealthy, but had lost his wife.
Yeah.
And he just kind of fell into a depression
let
and things changed because of that situation. But he had a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so you can be up 1 minute, down the next. That's why I keep saying, you heard me say on other videos, do not base it on temporary or temporal things that can change.
Yeah.
You have to look at what is the character of the person. Where are their values? Like I told you before, my number one is, do you love God?
Right.
Because if you love God and then you know who you are in Him, then you're going to treat me differently than if you don't.
Right.
Because you know that there's an accountability there. You know that, okay, this is also one of God's cherished treasures. This is His daughter.
Yeah.
Or me looking at you like this is His son. And so I know that you're going to interact with me a whole different way in love because it's not just about you anymore. It's about, I have to answer to my Heavenly Father.
Right.
And even in those moments where we talked about before, even if you don't see eye to eye, where the Holy Spirit starts talking to you.
Amen.
When you're a believer, and will cause you to reconcile or come and say, you know what, I said this, and that probably could have come out a little different. a lot different. A lot different.
Could have said this a different way.
A different way.
Could have seasoned my lips with grace.
Yeah, and I'm wrong. I was wrong, and I apologize, and I'm gonna fix it.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the Holy Spirit in you, you can do things, even if it's something as simple as how you say something, or if you snap, or if you're not as attentive as you should be, and there's no conviction.
Yeah.
Because without the Holy Spirit, it's really about you, me. How it's going to benefit me. How it's going to be best for me. So just saying that. And then even in Philippians 2:5, because, we always try to take it back to the Word of God too.
Yeah.
It talks about in your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And so we think about how did Christ interact with others during his earthly ministry?
Mm-hmm.
Really a 4-letter word sums it up.
Yeah.
Love.
Exactly.
Compassion. I know that's bigger than a 4-letter word, but I'm just saying I'm adding on to.
I know what you're talking about.
Compassion and empathetic. He tried to understand where they were when he met them, and he showed love and compassion in order to help them get where he saw they could be.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think we'll wrap attitude up, but I think that we need to just, oftentimes, if we really just humble ourselves before God, he can take care of our attitude. All right. And he can put us in a mindset where we don't mind being nice towards people, because I think that's the majority of our problems. We're not being nice to people.
Like, what happened?
Can't nobody say nothing to me. I wish they would. Like, hold up. Like, wait a minute. Like, I don't want hostility. I don't listen. If someone was to marry you, they don't want to have to fight people in the street and come home and have to box with their own spouse. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Boxing. Like, and I wish you would. Like, wait a minute. Why we gotta make love, not war, right?
Right.
Make love, not war in the marriage. You know what I'm saying? So,
and just having basic manners and etiquette. Remember we talked about that the other day? I forget what we were looking at, but it's just like what happened is this basic etiquette and using manners.
Yeah.
So, but attitude will affect your altitude, even in relationships. So,
yeah. You don't want to, dodge a bullet in the street and then come home and get your behind whooped.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Get your behind whooped. All right, y'all. Listen, number 5. We're trying to wrap up. Number 5. The 5th thing that may be keeping you single is your codependency, unhealthy relationships with family and friends, and that's a big one.
Yeah.
Codependency. What is codependency?
When I hear codependency, if I can get it out there, just really where you're just very different things come to mind, like very needy, to the point to where you kind of compromise certain things, like even if it's your own feelings, it's like I just have to have this person around. Now it can also, my mind kind of also for some reason goes to those who may have a challenge with breaking or having boundaries. I'll say boundaries from family and friends, even blood family, because when you're in a marriage, your spouse does take priority over your blood family.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it.
They do.
And that's not just me. That's the word. It says, Genesis 2:24, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. So the blessing in it is that when you are in Christ and when you are with a complementary spouse who God has ordained a relationship, they're not going to make you choose between your blood family and the other. You become a part of. But if it comes down to it, you have to know that marriage,
that your allegiance lies with your spouse.
Yeah.
Above all else, above all others. Even in our marriage vows, when it says forsaking all others, well, oftentimes we say, forsaking all others, meaning like forsaking, for my case, forsaking all other women, in your case, forsaking all other men. But guess what? Forsaking anybody else that tries to come between me and my spouse. Well, I will forsake you. I will. And that's okay. That's okay, because this is the order in which God would want it to be. And this is what he's called it to be. The two shall become one.
Yeah.
I'm not one, leave and cleave. There's a reason why, for this reason, a man will leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's how it should be. But codependency is when we really depend on someone for our emotional needs and things like that. Like we depend too much on this one person to balance us out and stuff like that. And oftentimes that can manifest itself in an unhealthy way. You know what I'm saying? So like we have unhealthy relationships with our mothers. Like, and listen, it sounds really good, like for a woman to say, oh, I talk to my mama every day, all day. Well, that might be why you ain't got no husband. That might be it right there. Because you talk, listen, and you can love, people can love their mother-in-laws.
Yeah, I was about to say,
you can love your mother-in-law all day. But if you spending an hour, 2 hours on the phone with your mama every day, that's time. Listen, sometimes, and you and me, we know we've been married for 17 years. Just sometimes when we get in so late from doing stuff to where we don't even have an hour to ourselves sometimes, when we're passing, doing stuff that we know we have to get done. But then you gotta block out a whole hour or two jaw jacking on the phone with your mama. And that's
a hypothetical example.
Yeah, that's a hypothetical. Yeah, that's a hypothetical.
When I was thinking,
but if men see that beforehand, they're like, "Bump that! I ain't finna marry you because I see where I'm finna
like where
it's finna be this your mama and then me and sometimes the dog before me."
Oh goodness!
If you like dogs,
not Ruffy.
Right.
No, but not just mamas. But that could be
brothers, sisters,
best friends.
Best friends.
Could be friends.
I'm about to get into that. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead and say what.
No, I mean that's what I was just saying. Anybody that you put or prioritize above, your, to where it's like, okay, I can't spend quality time with you because me and Sasha are going out to the mall for 5 hours. So I'm sorry, we can't do a date night because I'm doing, or I'm always spending time with everybody else but you. You're gonna drift apart if you're not making it a priority.
That may be what's keeping you single. Yeah, exactly. So like when we got married, my brothers and them knew, hey, we can't be talking on the phone like that. First of all, we don't like talking on the phone like that anyways. But my brother and them ain't finna be calling all hours of the night talking about, hey man, this Now for something important, of course. You know what I'm saying? That's something different. But to be making a habit of calling, especially married people, respecting the boundaries, you know what I'm saying? Doing stuff like that, I think that is something that shouldn't be happening. Now, if that's something that you do before, and people see that before the marriage, and you say, "Oh yeah, well, this is how I gotta be," and you don't want to, curtail that or nip that in the bud, that deuces.
And my mind kind of also goes to the opposite end of the spectrum too, to where if you're so codependent, to where you're always wanting to be up underneath the person too. I'm talking about to where there is no healthy, you don't have any friends outside. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or you never, like where they are, you have to be also. Like we travel everywhere together, and I want us to work together. I want us to go to the bathroom together. We have to do everything. And someone sees that you're like kind of overly codependent, then I think that could be a turn off too.
Abby Ware says this. She says, "My husband refuses to leave his family's influence alone. It never ends. It never ends up helping, and has been a huge issue and caused financial setbacks during our marriage of 10 years." Wow. They run him, and I'm ready to go.
We're sorry to hear that.
What would you say to that as a woman? Because I'll speak to it as a dude in a minute, but as a wife, what would you say in that situation? What would you advise her to be to do?
Well, you know how we always are big on. First of all, we know to pray, but you also have to have some not relevant. What's the word I'm looking for? Not realistic. Practical.
There we go. Practical
ways of addressing it too. So yes, of course, pray for God to move on his heart to be able to see. There is going to have to be a way that you kind of present that concern, which I'm sure you have, to him, just making sure that it is delivered with love, because when you're hurt, sometimes it can come out and it may not always have that honey to it. It may have a little bit more vinegar to it. So that is a very tough situation, especially because you never want it to be a divide. But like you said, it is important that your allegiance is first to each other. So if he's not hearing it from you, you might want to consider counseling if he's willing to go. I don't know, just so that there can be kind of like a middle person that gives a different perspective, because sometimes hearing it from a neutral party can kind of shed light on the situation in a different way. So
and two, also, Abby, where is your husband saved?
And so that's it.
Is he saved? Because one of the things that you might want to do, and this is one of the reasons, and y'all probably went to marriage counseling before you got married, but this is one of the reasons why marriage counseling is so big, because some of these things can be addressed before the marriage even it takes place. But honestly, going and getting counseling with that, and honestly, I would recommend a Christian counselor, even a pastor. Now, I don't want it to be to where it seems like you sicken the pastor on them, but what we're trying to communicate is that someone outside of you has to communicate to him that this is a problem, and that he is called to be a husband before a brother, before a son, before a nephew. He is called to be a husband. And that is the nucleus of the family. The nucleus of the family is the husband, wife, and children. That's it. That is it. We can love our parents all day. We can love our siblings all day. But at the end of the day, when the rubber meets the road, we're called to be in union with our spouse in more ways than one. And honestly, I don't want to be like, oh, well, be too abrasive with this, but please understand, I'm looking right in the camera, that, you've been married for 10 years. I realize that, but marriage, this is what we're called to do. We're called to love in the ups and the downs. In the times where it's not easy to do, we're called to love, and we're called to be by each other's side through thick and thin, till death do we part. And so this may be a season in your marriage that has been an extended period of time. However, in this situation, hold on, let me look here. In this situation, it's going to be to where you can win your husband over by continuing to show him love and continue to pray for patience and love him, even though he's not doing the things that he should be doing or what you feel he should be doing at this time, because God can move on his heart. God can chisel at a heart of stone and make it soft once again, so, but we are called to be in it through thick and thin, till death do we part, because it's not always going to feel good, and it's not always going to be easy. Trust me. We've been married for 17 years. It hasn't all been easy, but it's been worth it. I can tell you that. And I love my wife even more because she stuck through by my side through low moments or moments where we just didn't understand what was going on. We're still here today, 17 years later, because we just did not quit, and we choose to love each other come what may.
Wow. And think about my shirt that I'm wearing today. And God is so awesome, because I didn't even think about it when I put it on. But my shirt says, when you feel like quitting, think about why you started. So there will, like Jermaine said, amen to everything that he just said. There will be times where you're not really feeling it. But with marriage, it's a covenant that you made between your spouse and God. And so even though your spouse may be doing some things that are disappointing, we believe that unless it's adultery or a matter of abuse. Because we know that God would not want you to stay, and that's kind of perfect for domestic abuse or domestic violence awareness month, which is this month, October. If it's a matter of that, then yes, that, we believe that God would allow, the dissolve of the marriage or divorce.
Right.
However, if it's not abuse or adultery, then, we are called, and we're part of that. It's a covenant, and it's something you have to push through. And like Jermaine said, with prayer, counseling, things can change. Marriages go through seasons. Jermaine, which camera? This one.
Yeah, that one. But you know what? Look at this one for a minute. Look at this one right here, because I gotta change this battery.
Y'all been hearing me the whole time, like, which camera do I look at? So
this whole time.
So yes, we pray that things do improve, but marriages go through seasons, and you'll have days where you are feeling like it's a summertime marriage, and then there's times where it's like very wintry. But just keep pushing through, and try those things that we talked about, and we pray that it gets better. The goal, though, is for there still to be unity with everyone, because ideally, when you get married, you want it to be peaceful, to where you're not having your spouse having to choose per se between blood and you. But like you said, if there is a matter of disrespect or any type of divisiveness, then when it comes down to it, your spouse has to be the priority, and there has to be boundaries for the other. And thank you so much for chiming in. We appreciate you.
Amen. Even with that, thank you for that advice. She says that he says he's saved, but he's a carnal Christian. He's very resistant to anything with the word or following Christ.
And so that's what I kind of touched on. I had read that before.
Yeah.
So God can do the changing. We can try, but it has to be, we can plant the seed, but it has to be God that actually brings about the watering and the growth. So just continue to operate in love. You can catch more bees
with honey, more bees.
Is it flies? Whoever
I think it's more flies with honey.
Because I'm like, why would you want to catch
them with vinegar? The saying is, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Yeah. That's what it is.
I'm like, because after I started talking, I'm like, well, why would you want to catch a bee with honey? Because they make the honey. But anyways, you get what we're saying. Yeah, it's late night, so charge it to my head.
Yeah. We'll start earlier next time. We comes with. All right, listen. All right, so we talked about that, and also too, one of the things I want to talk about, and I didn't get to this. One of the things I want to talk about is too, we have what I see in our society is like a lot of women, they have a lot of male friends. Mm-hmm. Regardless of the male friend's sexual orientation, whether they're heterosexual, homosexual, they have a lot of male friends. Mm-hmm. And so when that happens, if someone sees you out and about, like going to dinner, going to a movie with a friend, someone who's been friend zoned, or who may not be interested in you because they gunning for the home team, for the same team, because they gunning for the same team. Y'all know what I'm saying? Well, if they see you out with that person, they assume they won't even approach you because you out with this person who was a male. You see what I'm saying? And so what happens with that is it becomes a repellent. And so to the man, to the opposite sex, the man won't even approach you because you are out spending time with your male friend. Yeah. And he's a repellent to your husband, your potential husband. What you think about that?
That's a good point. Because like you said, because we are talking about 7 things that could possibly, be keeping you single as the topic. But if you are constantly surrounded by someone, and like you said, it could be your potential spouse, but they're looking like, oh, well, she's already taken or he's already taken. So that's a good point, to just kind of be mindful. Not to say that you can't have friends of the opposite sex, but just being mindful of how that could appear. If you're always with that male friend out, then it could look like you're already taken. And so you could have someone on the side saying, hey, I think she's beautiful, but I'm not going to step up to her because she's already taken. So you bring up a good point.
Also, too, subconsciously is this. When you're constantly around male presence, what happens is your appetite for male attention diminishes.
And could you possibly start picking up tendencies though too?
Well, and that's a very good possibility as well. But what happens is, because I believe that we are designed to get attention from the opposite sex. Like, we crave that. Like, you as a woman, you crave attention from me. You know what I'm saying? I'm the opposite sex, and I sure enough crave attention from you as my wife. You know what I'm saying? But that's how it happens in society, period. And so what happens is, if you have the friend, that male friend or that female friend for a guy, and you have a lot of female friends, you have that person of the opposite sex who is a friend scratching that itch for attention, you know what I'm saying? Then what happens is your craving or your desire to be married diminishes, because you're like, oh, I get male affirmation every day. My male friend says I look good all the time. Like, oh, he said, oh, you look good. Or, a girl, you really wearing that dress. I mean, depending on,
that's
I'm saying, getting it from him. And then, vice versa for the man. He's like, oh, okay, what I'm saying? I get, I'm around this woman all the time. Why do I really need to get married? I'm getting all of this female attention from this person, you know what I'm saying? And
that's a different perspective.
And so so that's what I believe diminishes our desire to be married, or we don't prioritize it as much as we should, because we already getting enough attention from the opposite sex all the time, because we got friends with the opposite sex, and hey, you know what I'm saying? But I believe, especially for the woman, I believe that there's a deep desire for that male affirmation. Dudes ain't trying to get affirmed all the time.
Well, you know what you just said actually leads perfectly into the next point. Do you see where it leads in? Because the next point is believing the lies, the criteria from media and family. And so when I see that, I think about social media. And so we'll go deeper into it. But you know how you said, like, how women can desire affirmation from men. Think about all these selfies that you see.
Oh, man,
not that there's anything wrong with taking a selfie from time to time.
People be going overboard with them. I ain't gonna lie.
But I think that sometimes what I notice is that you may have, especially single women, who are posting them maybe more frequently and maybe revealing a little bit more in order to get that male attention. That male attention, that male affirmation of, oh, you're beautiful, oh, you look good, oh, you're fine, this and that. So social media has definitely played a part in that.
Yeah, definitely. So I think our codependency on friends and family, and that friend that you always keep around of the opposite sex, I believe that those things are drastic, or are things that are keeping us single. And we may not even realize the harm that it's doing, but it is harm. If you're talking about moving from singlehood, or is that right? Is that the right word? Singleness to married. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, all right, y'all. Right. Number six. We about to get up out of here. Believe in the lies, the criteria from media and family.
Well, you're really big on being mindful not to allow social media to set the bar for you in your mind of what your life should be based on what you're seeing on social media. You know how you always talk about the highlight reels?
Yeah.
And how people will post only the good things, and
they seldom,
so if you're seeing a couple that you admire and it's just the highlight reels, which is understandable, because I'm not saying that you need to put your business out there, but you just have to make sure that you're keeping in mind that there's not always going to be sunshiny days,
right?
Smiley days. And so that could be dangerous in that if you're in a relationship and you're like, well, we're, like the Joneses over there, they're always traveling and they're always happy and they always have this, and that. Well, that can be very dangerous because it's like, okay, it leads you to believe that everything's supposed to be perfect. But like we said, relationships will not be perfect.
Will not.
So if you get scared at the first argument or the first disagreement and want to like be like, okay, this is not, and it kind of goes back to that first point of over spiritualizing, like, oh my goodness, we argued. I don't know, is this meant to be from God? Like maybe God is, like you said, like over spiritualizing everything to where it's like we have a different perspective. We have a different point of view. Or like you said, believing the lies from media or family or people that you're around, because you remember early in our marriage to where we had a couple say to us, we don't disagree. And I'm like, oh, okay. No, they said we don't argue.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, semantics. It's just a matter of wording and, how they're wording it. I said, oh, I get it. You just disagree, right? I know we don't want to call it argument. That does sound kind of messy. I don't, we don't want to call it an argument. Let's just call it, you disagree, right? And so it's like, they were like, no, we don't even disagree. We agree on everything. And I'm like,
wow.
I said to Jermaine, two different people.
Two different people.
That I could have pushed pause and stop right there. You have two different people. Anytime you have two different people, two different upbringings, two different experiences, you're going to have different points of views on things.
Yeah. You just are.
And so there's going to be times where you don't always see eye to eye. So to have someone tell you, like if we were very vulnerable in that moment, or if we weren't strong in our own convictions, then we could have been like, oh, so if we have an argument or we disagree, then that means we're not supposed to be together, because they never disagree. Yeah. They always get along. You have to be mindful of that, because that could set the bar too high, give you unrealistic expectations, and then that will keep you alone. There is a picture that I used to see, and I can't remember where I saw it, but it was a picture of a skeleton in a wheelchair. It said on it, the caption was, a woman waiting for the perfect man.
Wow.
A woman waiting on the perfect man. So it was a skeleton in a wheelchair. She got old, gone, still waiting on the perfect man. Be careful what social media defines as perfect. Be careful what your family may define as perfect. For case in point, I know somebody who, in their minds, if you do not have a college degree, you're automatically crossed off the list. You're not even eligible. For their family member. They said they're not good enough for you if they don't have a college degree. Oh, my whole earring fell out. Y'all about to see me put it back in. But yeah, the whole, that was one of the things. So if that person listened to their family, then that's disqualifying some really good charactered men or women.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah. I mean, with that, I mean, it's just, we just really have to be careful, because a lot of people, and you see on social media, like, somebody will post a video or post a picture of them holding, the money phone, a block of money to their head, like, what I'm saying? And they could have just simply went to the bank, got out 100 ones, or what I'm saying, like, like 500 ones, put it up there or whatever, and they say, hey, or they took. There's been people who take out loans so that they can pose.
Are you serious?
So they can post the picture of the money phone.
No.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, this is what we do in order. Somebody said, so I think it was Show Baraka. He said this years ago. He said we go into debt just to impress people. No, we go into debt just to impress or buy. Or we go into debt just to buy people that we don't like. Or sorry, stuff. We go into debt to buy stuff to impress people we don't like.
Yeah.
We go into debt to buy stuff to impress people we don't even like.
I mean, that's too
And like,
much.
yeah, and just like there's a lot in that. And so like we have to understand that like when people are always posting, hey, like good times, like what I'm saying, like you can even when you and I know there's no harm in it, but even as married couples, we post our pictures and stuff like that. And I don't want somebody to look at that and say, oh, well, my husband doesn't look happy like him.
Right.
My wife doesn't look happy like her.
Yeah.
And like, you know what? Unless he can do that, then you must not be it. No. Everybody is not, everybody's not going to be me. Everybody's not going to be you. You know what I'm saying? And, we can be happy and we can have those happy moments. We can have a happy marriage, but it's not going to be perfect. Like you said, the woman who died waiting on a perfect man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so like, I think we need to be careful because sometimes, oh, wait a minute. Let's just say Blogger Briggs said, maybe you've answered this, but what? Okay, hold on. Maybe you've answered this. But what about getting into a relationship with someone who has major debt? Oh, okay. That's a good question. And then let's see. She also said, let me put this on the screen. All right. Said that real quick.
While you're doing that, I want to answer just my initial thoughts on that question. I guess my question would be, does that person have a plan on getting out of debt? And there's a couple of things that you have to look at. What was the reason for the debt? Because you have different types of debt.
You got consumer debt and you got, debt from a mortgage.
Yeah.
And you got credit card debt.
Yeah.
How did they rack up this debt? Was it from
hospital bills?
Hospital bills?
Yeah.
Or were they just being reckless, charging up? Because honestly, depending on what kind of debt it is, debt, look, there's levels to debt. We'll say that there's levels to debt. And so like, if you have somebody that has like $50,000, $100,000 in credit card charges, as opposed to medical expenses, that's a little different because one shows, hey, listen, I couldn't control this. And another one is like, okay, well, I was just being a fool and I wasn't, because what happens is they can put that goes, that has legs on it, and that will go into the marriage. You know what I'm saying? So if they're not responsible with that, they're not responsible with that. And she's actually come back and said, it was consumer reckless in college. So I would say this: you're not entitled. You're not responsible, or you're not obligated. Thank you. You're not obligated to walk into that, and that's not fair to you.
And I would just ask how long ago though, too.
How long?
Like, it's a person fresh out and they still have a lot of it and they have no idea. It's just like, okay, I want to get with you so that you can co-sign some loans for me and I dig up some more. If that's the case, then that's probably not going to be the healthiest. But if it's like, you can tell that they're working on, because I think what you're looking at is the character and the traits behind what caused the debt. Am I right? Yeah. I think it's really more looking into the deeper root of the issue of the debt. So that's something you may want to consider too, because if they have a plan and they're working on getting out of the debt, that's one thing, because that shows that, hey, we're all flawed. We all make mistakes. Maybe they didn't use the right
wait a minute.
Decision making.
It says not fresh. This is over 10 years.
So
let me tell you something. You're not obligated. I wouldn't jump into that at all. It shows it does consumer reckless in college. I wouldn't, I'm not going to say cancel this person, but what I will say is that there may be something out there. There may be someone out there better, because you don't want to go into marriage in heavy debt already, because you honestly go into a marriage looking at the bottom, looking up already, because marriage is tough. There's a lot of responsibilities that come with being married, and you don't want to take on someone else's debt like that.
They said friend zone. I don't know. I think
listen, our friend zone them.
And see, he's gonna have a different response.
Friend zone them. Our friend zone them.
But don't you think we should also have her pray on discernment?
Yeah, pray about God.
Because I don't want to
pray God.
Listen,
help me break it to this dude how I need to leave him alone.
Because we're not real big on being like, you need to leave such and such. We're not those people. We're not trained counselors. That's our disclaimer. We're not
trained counselors,
professional counselors, trained anything. All we can go off of is our experience. What we may have
I
seen
do
in
have
our lives.
We're
not telling you to leave anybody per se, unless there was, like I said, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Unless there was abuse or adultery, then we'll be like, okay, yeah, God already spoke on this, and this is how we should maneuver accordingly. But when it's a matter of that, pray for discernment. God will give you a peace and guide you in what you should do. I'm gonna leave it at that, because if you are to friend zone somebody, I would prefer for it to come from, okay, God, something is not settled right in my spirit, and this is my future that I'm looking at. And if I see that there's not a change in his character now, then with us being single, then that's showing me something about what he'll do or not do as the leader of our family when I become his wife. Because I think that's really kind of the deeper issue for us women. We want to see that character trait, and how are they going to be able to lead us as their wives? How are they going to be able to lead the family if we were to have children? And so it's not just surface level debt. It's like digging down into the root.
See, and that's a problem, because he's already saying he's already showing he can't lead himself.
So if that's the case, but that'll be God who gives her that discontentment, as far as it won't sit right with her spirit.
Yeah, I got a feeling it already is. It already ain't sitting right. That's why she posing this court. It ain't sitting, because she's saying, listen, like, I could help with the college stuff. She don't mind the college stuff. Especially if it has, if he has a degree on it. But another thing is, the other stuff I'd rather
that's
not.
Hard to work with. So, but you know what else we could propose, Jermaine? And I know we proposed it earlier, but counseling, to see if he's even willing to go to counseling to kind of work through those issues. Maybe there's something that
better be free counseling, because that's just more money that could be going towards that debt. I would cut bait with him, and if we're talking about,
want to just tell somebody to cut bait. Listen,
I would cut bait with him. I would. I know, because see, listen, she has a heart for people, and I do too. But see, she wants to break it softly.
We don't want them. No, because if it would came down to it, I'd be like, that's an out move. But
yeah,
like I said, if it were abuse or if it were adultery, now you would hear me saying like, no.
Yeah.
Like if she were to come on here and saying he's cheated on me 5 times, and I'd be like, no, and no.
Yeah.
Because if he's doing it now before a marriage, he's not going to miraculously change when he puts a ring on your finger.
And that's exactly where it comes in with that debt. If he's been foolish with this debt that he's had over 10 years.
Let me throw out a different perspective, though. I get what you're saying with that. But since it's not one of those cold cut in the Bible issues, and I know we're saying character and responsibility, but think about this. Wonder if he has not had the training. Wonder if he was never taught how to manage debt. That's something that can be learned. Because I don't know him.
Yeah, we don't.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know him. I don't know his character. He could really be a good person, a good guy, and say God did order their steps and did connect them. I would hate to come on here and say, oh, well, he has debt, then leave him alone, girl. I don't want to do that, because that's too. We don't have enough information.
Yeah, so I think it comes down to,
I think if he's willing
what the debt is, and when she's talking about, the majority of it is the recklessness.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If he's willing to go to counseling and sit down and say, okay, yeah, I was reckless. I did this with my money. I didn't know how to spend. But if he has someone who's a financial manager that comes and say, okay, you need to have a budget, because not everyone is taught financial literacy. You know that not everyone is good with numbers. And so if you have someone, if he's willing to go through counseling, if he has a change in character, and we're going to move on because I'm hungry. I have not eaten yet and it's late.
Well, listen, I'll tell you.
So, but I'm just saying, like, I think that's something that we have to consider.
Yeah, definitely consider. Only she knows. I will consider this. Let's meet in the middle. How about this? All right. She has friends on them. Now, listen, either you're going to be in a relationship with them or cut bait altogether. Don't friends on them, because when you friends on them, what happens is there's always this, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's like there's
always, just either with them or you not with them. Don't friends on them, because it's going to be hard to move to be friends when y'all were already
in a romantic
relationship. But here's what I will say about this. How about this? I would say give him a decent amount of time. It's been 10 years. Has he made a dent in the debt at all? Like, has he gone from, I don't know what the amount is. If it was $100,000, has he gotten it down to 90 grand? Or that's still
that sounds a lot. Like
that's
a lot.
10 years. Like, if it's $100,000 in debt, has he chipped away to where it's down?
That's why I asked
60
about that
grand?
plan. Like, does he have?
If it was 150, okay, no, he hasn't. Well,
but that's where it goes back to counseling. What if he doesn't know how to manage money? But I know 10 years is a decade.
10 years is a long time. See, here's the thing. This is the thing about men. This is the thing with men. Men, we're not stupid when it comes to money like this. Okay, we're not. And I'm gonna say this: we know ain't nobody coming to save us. I, as a full-grown man, I know if I got some debt, if I don't take care of it or find some way to take care of it, it ain't going nowhere. It ain't going away. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with it. Whether he's financially, knows how to handle that, literate or not, he knows that he has a responsibility that he has not taken care of. And this reckless spending, I could see if it was just college, but reckless spending, listen.
So can we give her?
Give him 6 months, 3 to 6 months.
Can we just pose a question to her?
Okay,
for
what's
her
the question?
To reflect upon?
Go ahead.
Will he be able to effectively lead your family and have your family in a good position with his current habits if you were to get married soon? If the answer is no.
I
cannot.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
I can't deal with him. If the answer is no, my point, part B to that question is he willing to get counseling? Now, if you're asking me, what did you just play?
It's getting on my nerves.
Really? It's getting on. Okay. Oh my goodness. I love you. I do. So I guess my question, I'm backing up. If you were to say, should I get married to him with the current situation? I would say you probably want to work through those issues before marriage. Now I can say that. But I don't want to come out and tell the girl to leave somebody, be like, that Christian fam said I should leave you. No, we don't get down like that.
No,
we don't ever counsel.
No, we don't get down like that.
Unless it were, here, put it back on. Unless it were, and y'all have heard me say it on this live, unless it were abuse, domestic violence awareness month, October, or adultery, then we could say cut and dry. The Bible says, boom.
Right.
But when it's nuanced like that, I love you, Jermaine King.
I love you too. Go ahead. When it's nuanced like that, go ahead.
Since we do not know this gentleman, and we don't know the full details, and we're only getting a little scope of it, only you can answer those questions. Will he be able to effectively lead you and your family if you were to get married tomorrow? If not, will he be able to seek counseling? Do you think the counseling would make a difference? And then if not, if all those are no, then I think that's your answer. Pray to God to give you wisdom and discernment and move according to what he says. Because at the end of the day, my word doesn't matter. As much as I love Jermaine, I mean, I'll have you say it yourself because I don't want to say your word doesn't matter. But
right. At the end of the day, my final word don't matter. But let me my final word don't matter either. But here, listen, this I got a message for you.
Cannot play with him. Cannot win with him. Cannot coach with him. Can't do it.
Let me tell you something.
I want winners.
I want winners.
I want people that want to win.
Want to win. Let me tell you something.
Oh my God.
Let me tell you something. This ain't that Christian fam speaking. This is Jermaine speaking.
Oh my
I
God.
can't speak for her.
Jermaine.
No, because she's talking about him leading you.
That's why I said.
Let me tell you what he's going to lead them.
Oh my gosh.
Let me tell you, she's going to lead them. He's going to lead her straight to the poorhouse.
Jermaine.
I'm
not saying I disagree. I hope you know that, right? I'm not saying I disagree, because you heard me say, if he cannot, because we're digging to the root of the issue, not just the debt, but the root of why are you in debt? Do you not have self-control? Right?
Right.
I was about to go to Galatians. And oh my goodness, what am I going to do with you? All right. So if we're talking about Galatians 5, and we're looking for someone who can demonstrate the fruit of the Spirit, then that can tie into, are you demonstrating self-control, right? That ties into it. So if someone has a huge amount of debt and it's been there for like years and years and years and years, then and it's reckless, like you said, and it's not medical, then that could show, okay, this is a character thing. This is deeply rooted. And this could be ongoing, which could be problematic in our marriage. So I hope that I am clear in saying, I'm not saying that may be not be a good idea, but I just want you to be more the one to reflect upon those questions and you come to a final conclusion. Don't let anybody.
Right.
And that's what we were talking about, having family influences or friends in your ear, or even us in your ear, but like, girl, we think you should. And that's why
make sure you pray about it.
That's why we always try to lead it back to, okay, here's some things to think about and consider. But at the end of the day, it's going to be between you and God. And because sometimes the person God would have you to be with, it may not always make sense to other people. And so I don't know if God said, I need you to stick it out, and because he's going to, become debt free next year. And so you stick it out.
Be careful,
I don't know.
Right.
But based on the current circumstances, that's why I said you have to really be discerning and ask yourself those questions, because you don't want to get into a marriage with a whole lot of unnecessary, I'll say,
right.
baggage.
She came back and said, listen, I'm going to tell you this. This is what I feel in me spirit. Okay. I feel like if you get married to this dude, this is what you're going to be saying on day one of the marriage.
It is more about that.
No,
God.
That's what you're going to be saying on day one of the marriage.
No, God.
After the honeymoon, after you have crossed and jumped the broom.
No, God.
That's what you're going to be saying. That's what I think. Let me tell you what
but you do know that I'm not disagreeing with you.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Like,
I understand that.
The only part that I am wanting us to consider is how we're advising. That's all. That's the only difference. I don't ever want to just come out and be like, leave him or be a friend or da-da. I just want it to always be that person's decision.
Yeah, it's gonna be your choice.
Because we've always
gonna push you in the right direction. That's what we're gonna do.
Gosh.
All right, we're gonna be that gentle and not so gentle push. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have to make up your own decision. She says this. I don't disagree with Jermaine. Over 60K. See, she got a good head on her shoulders. She got a good head on the shoulders. She said, I don't disagree with Jermaine. She said, I
have a good head on my shoulders.
Oh, she does. My wife has a good head on her shoulders. She has a good head on her shoulders too. But I'm just saying, there's something about agreeing with Jermaine and agreeing with Nicole. I think she disagrees with that Christian fan regardless. She says, I don't disagree with Jermaine. Y'all see how to clean it up. I don't disagree with Jermaine. Over 60K in school debt. I feel like if he's had over 10 years to make some sort of dent and nothing has been done to take care of it, it's a character trait, right? I would say yes. I would say there's a character issue. And so, like, honestly, okay, here's the thing. I think this will be the move. This is the move. Propose him getting into, like, consumer debt counseling or consolidation, maybe I'm saying, with the consumer debt. Even when it comes to the school debt, there's some programs out there to where they can even settle it for a lesser amount or whatever.
Forgive the debt.
And forgive the debt, forbearance, all this other stuff. There's many options out there. I don't want you to, but if he got other stuff that's lurking beneath the surface or in y'all relationship that you're already dealing with that's just crazy, and on top of this debt, I would cut it off. That's just me. Now, y'all, for some reason, and I know that it's a lot harder for women, but for a lot of men, they can. I don't know.
I'm not saying because I'm not.
Yeah, I
also,
know. I know.
I'm not that person that be like
Mhm.
having high hopes, like, oh, he'll change. Because I'm really against that too, though. That whole like getting with somebody who's already in a bad state and then being like, oh, well, I can change him or I'll change for no. What they're showing you is who they're gonna be unless there's a change from God. So I'm not that person. I just hope that it's coming off very clearly.
Oh yeah,
that
definitely.
I'm not pushing that either. I'm not saying that it's a good situation, but all I'm saying is that we're on a live we've been in this conversation for 20 minutes. We don't know everything that's occurring in that relationship. We don't know the person. We don't know the character. So I would hate to come to a conclusion when this dude could be really like solid. He could be, and maybe he just needs that guidance on his financial choices. But maybe he is still loyal to you. Maybe he does treat you with love, because you said it's school debt. So it sounds like he's maybe trying to further himself educationally in order to get himself in a good place in his career.
School debt and consumer reckless debt.
So, but long story short, I don't know him.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm that's the only difference is I'm not saying that would be good to get into a situation with large debt, but you just have to look. It's nuance. It's not black and white. And we're going to move on to the next one here soon, but it's not black and white because there's so many factors that go into it. Is he not able to pay off the school debt or the other stuff because of medical reasons, this, and that? What is going on? Is he still working himself to go through school? Is he still pursuing a graduate degree? It's just so many. And we don't have time to go through all of it, but that's what I'm saying. Only and God knows.
She said, right, agreed. What do you agree with? I don't know exactly what she's talking about. She agree with, but even with that, I think one of the things we need to consider too, just from a practical standpoint, is if you already have a large sum of debt, when you get married, there's always going to be that chance you can get pregnant. Like. Month one.
That's why I said that's that question.
Yeah. And so and then you have hospital bills that may occur.
Yeah.
There may be, you may get sick in the marriage, or he may get sick in the marriage. That means his debt becomes your debt. And
but you know what? This is almost a whole nother topic.
It is. Exactly.
I think we could probably write this down. So thank you, Blogger Bree. Financial debt. I'm writing it down because we can almost do like a whole nother.
Oh yeah, I'm chopping this up. This is gonna be but we definitely can elaborate a little bit more.
Even elaborate on it more because it's not black and white. It's so it's nuanced, and there's so many perspectives.
I thought she was my friend. She said, right, agreed. I agree with everything Nicole said. I can see her view too. I thought this, you know what? It's cool. It's cool.
She's agreed with us both. Thank you.
We don't, it's cool because we all on the same team. So if you,
we really are. We're saying the same thing. We're just having a different approach with it.
We're one, babe. We are one.
All right. Let's go to number 7.
Okay.
But thank you for that, because that was good. And I also gave us another video for the future. So keep your eyes open for that. That's good.
Yeah. Blogger Bree. I don't know how long has she been subscribed. I think it's been almost like a year or something like that. Forget when she came in. I remember when she came in.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Okay. Our last point, and we actually going to get up out of here on this one. This is a big one.
Yeah.
Having sex outside of marriage.
So going back and tying it back into.
Oh, she said go Cowboys. So I got to stop for that. She said go Cowboys. Is she in Texas? Well, we got Cowboy fans all over the globe.
Yeah, they're American.
But we are in Dallas, Texas. We are in Dallas, Texas, and I hope she got a good head on the shoulder. She's a Cowboy fan.
Yes.
She know what's up.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, but yeah, having sex outside. Number 7. Having sex outside of marriage.
So looping us back to our overarching topic of 7 things that are possibly keeping you single.
Yeah.
Why would having sex outside of marriage still keep you or have you in a single status? Well, it takes me back to an old adage that I used to hear growing up when you hear like older women talking and you'd hear them saying something like, such and such. Da, da, da. Well, you can't, why buy the cow if you're getting the milk for free?
Yeah. and of course we know that women, of course we know women are not cows before somebody come with that. But then also too, you also heard, why buy a car if I can't test drive it?
Mm.
We know you're not a car, but we're just talking about hypothetically what the saying is. You know what I'm saying? So,
Well, the whole cow and milk analogy, and like you said,
she's in Houston.
Okay,
That's
all
what's up.
right.
That's what's up.
But yeah, like I was saying, the whole cow, and like you said, I'm not comparing women to cows. That's in no way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole point of the analogy is if you're getting the benefits from the cow, then why are you going to go and buy it and commit to something?
Exactly.
And so, like, if you're already engaging in marital interactions, sex, before being married, then I'm just thinking, it's almost like, well, why do I need to commit to that?
Yeah.
A guy could look at it like, well, I'm already getting the benefits of the marriage, of what is supposed to be sacred and saved for marriage, because the Bible talks about how the marriage bed is undefiled.
Yeah.
Our marriage is honorable and all, and the marriage bed undefiled. So, sex is a beautiful thing within marriage.
Right.
And that's how God intended for it to be. So if there is no like anticipation of, oh, she's making me wait.
Right.
Or even from the woman's stance of, oh, I look forward to being able to join in that way with my husband. It's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
It's like you rob yourself.
The marriage experience.
Yeah, you rob yourselves of that experience and the anticipation. It's like it was already happening. So what changed? What changed? You need to give yourself something to look forward to. And God has told us not to engage in marriage in sex outside of marriage for certain reasons. And you have a whole video.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I shared this on the Harrison Family Vlogs. I shared it on his channel when he had me on like this past Sunday.
And shout out to Harrison.
Shout out to Harrison. Dre up top, up in New York. There's so many practical.
That's how I call him Harrison, but Dre.
No, you're straight.
Yeah.
No, but there are so many practical reasons why we should not engage in sex outside of marriage. A lot of people want to make it seem like God is this big, mean God who just doesn't want us to have fun, who tells us to abstain from certain things because he doesn't want us to have fun or he hates us. When that's not the case at all. There's practical reasons why we shouldn't. For one, if you are if you're a man and you get some woman pregnant and you are not married, you're not in covenant relationship with her, you run the risk of getting somebody else pregnant too.
Yeah.
Because you're sleeping around. And so what happens is you divide your money up against multiple households. So it's not one household you have to worry about. There's 2, 3, and 4 different households. You have to divide your sources or your income up against, between the 4 when you really are designed to just worry about one house, keeping, those children clothed and fed and stuff like that, worrying about that wife, not multiple different women. And so it's hard to build equity or an inheritance or build an inheritance or level up financially if you have to divide your sources up against so many different households.
Yeah.
Sex does exactly what it's supposed to. We're supposed to procreate. We're supposed to create. All right. It's not a recreational thing. So,
even though it's
enjoyable,
yeah,
definitely,
couples,
for sure. But it's meant to do what it does. All right. You know what I'm saying? Don't, if you don't want an apple tree growing, don't plant no apple seeds in your lawn. You know what I'm saying? And so and then also too, I think oftentimes what we do is we like to do stuff like play house. We play house. Now, I did that stuff when I was a kid, and there was a lot of the girls, they want to play house for whatever reason. They love playing house, and that's cool. Playing house is cool when we were kids, but it ain't cute when you become an adult and you playing house.
Right.
You playing like you married. You're playing like you're married. And what happens is you have someone who you're not married to, who you're not in covenant agreement with, occupying the space that your covenant partner is supposed to be occupying. And so if you're too busy entertaining this person like y'all married, what happens is the person that you should be married to sees that you already have somebody, just like we talked about with the whole friend thing. And they're like, hey, I'm out. I'm not finna even step to this because you playing house with the one that you're not even supposed to be married to or living with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I'm about to go into another point on that real quick, but what do you think about that? And what are your thoughts on what we're talking about, this 7 point?
Well, you heard me say earlier about just making sure that you're keeping the gift wrapped. Keep the wrapping paper on until it's time for it to be unwrapped. I just think that when you do that beforehand, you're robbing yourself of that anticipation and the full experience. And God speaks directly against fornication. And so it's not just what we're saying, it's what God says. People can say old school, but the Bible is the Bible. God said what he said, and when he said it, he meant it, and he doesn't change his mind. And so, sex outside of that covenant of marriage is wrong, point blank. And you do just open yourself up to so many different things, that unnecessary pains. That you like you said, you could end up with children are always blessings, but it may not be the ideal partner that you wanted to raise your child with. It could be some unnecessary hurts. Of that emotional tie, because sex is a spiritual and an emotional tie. And so if the person ends up cheating on you or walking out and things like that, then you have this emotional hurt that is really deep, because it wasn't in the confines of marriage. It's one thing, if something happens in marriage, which is still wrong. But I'm saying it's avoidable if you're not in the confines of that covenant of marriage. Exactly. So there's just so many benefits to waiting until you're married, to avoid some of those unnecessary hurts and pains. God tells us to wait for a reason. And like you brought up, there's a financial reason, so that your finances aren't split among households. I'm just thinking about the fact of you have to put forth a lot of effort to keep one person to fulfilled, or and not
have to worry about multiples.
And so it's just like to have to make sure he's good, and then he's good, or she's good and she's it's just, that seems just like a lot. So keep the gift wrap on the present until it's time to unwrap.
It's time. I agree. I think one of the things we need to understand too about having this sex outside of marriage is I'm seeing a lot of people having these long-term relationships like without marriage, and it's like we're having these long-term relationships, and people say it proudly. I was with this person for 7 years. We just did our thing. Well, I'm sorry, Mama, Ma, you sound like a fool. We just did our thing. We had our little thing. We was together for 7 years. Come on now. And you wasn't smart enough to seal the deal? 7 years. That's 7 years, 5 at the least or whatever, where you could have had some marriage benefits. You could have been on somebody's insurance. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many different benefits and tax breaks for being married. And you spent 7 years with somebody and y'all just played house.
And the thing were you celibate? Because to me, being an adult and feeling that, having romantic feelings for someone for 7 years, like being grown, that's a long time to go being celibate. If you are, that's one thing. But if you're engaging in sex before the marriage, then that's a whole nother story. Right. It's almost like and I'm speaking as a woman because I am a woman. The whole fact of wanting to give the man a chase. Making them like, okay, it's just not going to be an easy catch. You're going to have to work for this. I'm of high value. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I am God's daughter, and it's not going to be easy for you to get
And then
me.
cheap over here.
Right.
Yeah.
And so knowing, okay, I'm going to have to put in some work
Yeah.
in order to win her, to win her heart and to engage with her in a relationship. And then not only that piece, but having those standards and those Christian values and morals to say, I am not going to engage in sex until I am married.
Yeah.
And so therefore, anyone who's with you is going to know, oh, well, if I want to get to unwrap that present, then I know I'm gonna have to not only put a ring on it. And I say not only put a ring on it because some people think, oh, well, I can propose and now the person has a ring on it. And I'm not talking about engagement
If you get engaged and y'all ain't setting no marriage date, y'all ain't setting no wedding date, yeah, he ain't for real, or they ain't for real.
Yeah. But not even just that. Even being engaged does not give you permission to engage in sex.
Right.
Until you are married and exchange wedding vows.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or the marital vows, because some people may not have an actual wedding ceremony, but marital vows.
Yeah.
You're not married, because some people I think, oh, okay, well, because the man could use that as like a string to pull you along and say, okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and propose to her to get the goods, to get to unwrap the present.
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
And the person may have no intent at all of following through.
Yeah, we know a couple people where that happened.
So so that's why I'm like, as women, make it a chase. Make them anticipate being able to encounter and experience those marital benefits with you.
Yeah. And one of the last thing real quick before we jump off air.
When you're married.
Yeah.
I need to add that part. After marriage. Yes.
Right. One of the things I want to actually bring up is the fact that with these long-term commitments and things like that, or just when you engage with sex outside of marriage, what happens is you have the risk of creating kids. And so when you create kids and have kids, and you don't marry that person, what happens is someone else coming along and they see you have children, and they're like, well, I don't want to marry you because I don't want to marry someone with kids. What's your thought on that real quick?
Well, I mean, like we talked about earlier, that does, you kind of put yourself into a position of, we believe that babies are a blessing no matter how they get here, right? God is the giver of life and all babies are blessings. However, there are more ideal situations. You have the promise. And I can think about Abraham and Sarah, remember when they were trying and they were promised a child, but Sarah was like, you know what, it's not happening. Go ahead, Abraham. And then gave him permission to be with Hagar. And then out of that came Ishmael, but Ishmael was not the promised seed, right? He wasn't the promise like Isaac. So, you have God's permissive will, then you have his perfect will. And so you can set yourself up for a more ideal situation to where you can have the joint, parenting, not have to have the other. And we're not talking about those who have lost spouses, not bonus children because of a spouse passing away or things that are out of, one's control.
Right.
But you can just kind of set yourself up to not have to endure some of the unnecessary, kind of like the unnecessary pain based on that comes as a result of, our decisions.
Right. Exactly. So y'all, this has been our seven things that may be keeping you single. Y'all, this has been fun, but listen, we're about to get up out of here. And y'all, we pray that you continue to pray for this channel. Please make sure that you hit the super chat sometimes when we go on these lives and stuff like that, because we do put a lot into this channel. And I want to make sure. And we love every one of y'all. We give our best when it comes to giving advice. Do you want to say anything before we jump off?
I just want to say thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you for your ongoing support. It means a lot. As always, please spread the word. Make sure that you have subscribed. Make sure that you have liked this video, and spread the word. Let others know about it. We hope we have been a blessing to you, as you are a blessing to us just by your dedication and your commitment. And we thank you.
All right, y'all. It's been wonderful. We love y'all. Anything else? Well, actually, I think that's it for me. We love y'all. Y'all take care. You can't see me in this dark. Exactly how I like it. Anyways, we love y'all. We'll see y'all on the next live. Y'all take care.
All right. Till next time.